pardon, Roger Stone, everybody. Let's hear the booms, guys. Let's bring it. We have Roger Stone on the Matrixxx Groove Show. In this system, fighting for America, and we've got a system of corruption going on right now, and we have an American citizen that will be joining us in a few minutes here, Roger Stone Shady.
My goodness, what a wonderful day to have this gentleman join us and share with you guys a little bit of the firsthand experience of the corruption in DC and what you're seeing of the hypocrisy that is the legal system surrounding the president and all of the people that try to help this man.
So let's do this. Before we introduce the illustrious and amazing Roger Stone, who basically has the same issues that our General Flynn does, Kiwi Patriot made this amazing video. This will give us pretty much of a quick story as to how Roger Stone got into this system and what our president, the commander, the executive director of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Let's hear what's going on with Mr. Stone.
NBC, which gives a lot of fake news. The fact is that Roger Stone was treated horribly, and so were many other people. Their lives were destroyed. And it turns out, you look at the Pfizer warrants and what just happened with Pfizer, where they found out it was fixed, that it was a dirty, rotten deal. So when you look at that and you see what happened to Roger Stone, but think of it, a man leaks classified information, highly classified. They give him 2 months. Roger Stone for doing, nobody even knows what he did. In fact, they said he intimidated somebody. That person said he had no idea he was going to jail for that. That person didn't want to press charges. They put him in for 9 years. It's a disgrace. And frankly, they ought to apologize to a lot of the people whose lives they've ruined. All right, next question.
This is exclusive CNN video. This is what happened this morning before sunrise, just before 6 a.m. when Roger Stone, longtime Trump associate and advisor, was taken into custody by the FBI. There's a moment of audio on here that I want to play for everyone, because this is what the first sounds that Roger Stone woke up to this morning was the FBI pounding on his door and shouting this. I want to just play this for a moment.
FBI, open the door.
So just to get the mechanics of what happened this morning out of the way, we've seen the tape shot by CNN, which remarkably was across the street from your house very early this morning, and we saw the very large number of armed federal agents bringing you out of the house. Is there something we don't know? Do you have an arsenal at home? Had you made threats against prosecutors, threats of violence? I mean, is there context that we don't have?
No. First of all, it's disconcerting that CNN was aware that I would be arrested before my lawyers were informed. So that's disturbing. If it was a dangerous situation, which would merit the SWAT team, well then CNN's cameraman would be in danger. I don't know why they would be allowed to be there. I had no firearm in the house. I don't have a permit for a firearm. I don't own a firearm. Only my wife, my 2 dogs, and my 3 cats were at home. I'm not a flight risk. In fact, I think my passport has expired, or it will expire in a few days. I have no record of criminal past. And frankly, they just could have contacted my attorney and I would have voluntarily turned myself in. The proof of this is that only hours later, the judge granted me a $250,000 surety bond meaning on my signature with no funds put forward, because I'm not a flight risk. And as far as the government's contention that they were concerned that I would destroy evidence, they've been in my email and my text messages and my phone calls for 2 years, probably longer, because the New York Times reported on January 20th, 17, that I was among 3 people in the Trump campaign under active surveillance.
Look at the names of the people. For example, the jury foreperson in Roger Stone's case was prejudiced against. That was not a fair.
Can you believe
jury.
it? Can you believe it? The hatred that she had for him and for me.
And you?
And she said, "Oh no, I don't know." You know, she acted like she was an innocent. She ran for Congress or something, and lost. But she was like pretending to be an innocent. How did she even get into the jury pool? She must have had a little contact. And the judge, who's been brutal, the judge who sentenced Roger, has been brutal. Take a look at what she's done to people.
Same judge in the Manafort case.
Well, take a look at what she did for Hillary-related things, okay? Wasn't brutal there, but look at what she did to people. Just take a look at what she's done. And Roger Stone had a jury foreman for a woman who was a disaster. How that's not declared a mistrial or more than a mistrial is incredible to anybody that sees it. This is a person that hated Roger Stone, hated me, and obviously said wonderful things, otherwise she couldn't have gone in.
It looks like he reports to jail, I believe, in 4 days.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about a pardon for any of them?
We're going to see. I don't want to get into
Commutation?
that, but I think he was treated very unfairly.
And there you have it. And with that, guys, I would like to welcome the amazing Roger Stone. Roger Stone, come on in here, my friend. Let me get the display capture so everybody can see your handsome face, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm very, very excited about being here with the Matrixxx Groove, because we're going to conduct a little experiment tonight. CNN at 10 o'clock tonight has a special on my case and General Flynn's case.
Yes,
this
sir.
is obviously a fake news effort to try to intimidate the president out of some act of clemency in my case. He's also obviously keeping a close eye on General Flynn's case, because even though the DC appeals court ordered Judge Emmett Sullivan to dismiss the charges against General Flynn, General Sullivan has not done so. And it's clear to me that he's stalling. He stayed all action in the Flynn matter for 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he's going to appeal to the DC appeals court to have the entire court en banc rehear the motion to dismiss, in an effort to round up enough Democrat judges to oppose those Republican judges to reimpose some kind of penalty on General Flynn.
So do you
It
think
is
your
an
judge
absolute
is
outrage.
waiting for the decision from Sullivan? Is that why the 2 weeks were extended, sir?
I don't think so. I'm not really sure what's going to change in 2 weeks. I mean, she ignored in our motion the substance of our motion, which was to say that at a time when it is the policy of the U.S. Bureau of Prisons and the Justice Department for nonviolent inmates convicted of nonviolent crimes, to be moved from prison to home confinement, it makes no sense to send me to a prison in rural Georgia where there is a very substantial potential risk at 69 years old and with a history of asthma and other underlying health problems, that this could be a death sentence.
Yes, sir.
It makes
they
no sense.
release people with COVID, right? You said that very well in your intro video. Thank you for that, sir. And by the way, I want to introduce to you Shannon, Shady Groove. Shady, say hello to Mr. Stone really quick. He's my co-host, sir.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming over and joining us. We're extremely concerned about your case, and
Yes,
we
sir.
have a lot of patriots out there that are paying extra attention to the corruption that's going on and really seeing what is taking place with General Flynn and your case and a couple of others, as a matter of fact. But I think this all goes back to a systemic corruption that has befallen the FBI and the DOJ for quite some time.
Yeah, we've got American citizens, General Michael Flynn, Mr. Stone, Roger Stone, who's been in politics since the 70s. He's worked on campaigns with Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Jack Kemp, Bob Dole, and Mr. Donald Trump briefly, right? These are American citizens with there's a systemic issue in our judiciary system where there is no equal justice. And you heard Mr. Trump, our president, talk about how the judge hates him, thereby somebody that supports the president, an American citizen, is getting a crooked deal. Mr. Stone, would you like to speak on that? I'll give you the floor, sir.
Sure. Look, there's no question whatsoever that I did not receive a fair trial. First of all, I think you have to go all the way back to the beginning. For almost 2 years, the fake news media, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and others, had a drumbeat of stories saying Roger Stone will be convicted of treason. Roger Stone will be convicted of conspiracy. Roger Stone will be convicted of espionage. Roger Stone will be charged with conspiracy against the United States. Roger Stone will prove to be the link between the Russians and the Trump campaign, or WikiLeaks and the Trump campaign. Roger Stone will be proven to have trafficked and stolen documents that he got from WikiLeaks and gave them to the Trump campaign. Stone is guilty of wire fraud, mail fraud, aiding and abetting a conspiracy, being an accessory to a conspiracy after the fact, laundering hundreds of millions of dollars in Russian money in violation of the foreign campaign contributions ban. And then, after defrauding multiple federal judges and magistrates and getting the authority to look at all my emails, all my text messages, all of my phone calls, they find no evidence whatsoever of any of those crimes. So then they fabricate these lying to Congress charges, when in fact any misstatement that I made to Congress was either immaterial or without intent. The law requires both, but they were about innocuous things. They hid no underlying crime. When the judge said in her sentencing that my misstatements to the Congress changed the direction and limited the House's investigation into Russian collusion, that's not what the chairman of the committee said, nor what their final report said, nor what the spokesman for the chairman of the committee said only a few weeks ago. When she said that I was convicted of covering up for Donald Trump, that wasn't one of the charges. There was nothing to cover up. The Trump campaign's interest in WikiLeaks disclosures was an open matter in the public realm. Candidate Trump himself mentioned it 142 times in his campaign speeches in September and October.
Would you fill our audience in a little bit on the WikiLeaks, Mr. Stone? That's the most important thing for us, too. We've dug on these emails, sir. Would you go in on that? Because we do believe, of course, it's a theory until it's proven, that they have Seth's laptop. That's probably why our president knows that you're innocent, my friend. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I wanted to do in court and was not allowed to. The underlying premise of my indictment was that the Russians hacked the DNC and gave the stolen data to WikiLeaks. I wanted to introduce expert testimony from Bill Binney and Ray McGovern and others, former NSA or CIA officials.
Bill Binney's a hero, yes, sir.
Incredible technical knowledge. I wanted to introduce forensic evidence to prove definitively that there was no online hack of the DNC by the Russians or anyone else, that the information based on all of that evidence and the download times indicate that the information was downloaded to some kind of portable device and taken out the back door. Now, I don't know where it goes from there, and my case doesn't regard where it goes from there. Right. But the judge specifically prohibited us from raising that defense or calling those witnesses or introducing that evidence. So in other words, the Russia WikiLeaks connection and the allegation that the DNC was hacked by the Russians is relevant for the purposes of charging Stone, but it is not relevant, the government says, in terms of his trial or our ability to convict him.
Interesting. Because we see riots and stuff happening. It's just we know that it's an obvious ploy to make people look here, not there. We've got 50 people from the Obama administration that are going to be talking in front of the Senate. They're subpoenaed, and we've got the Adam Schiff documents, correct? That's under oath. They said that there's no Russian collusion. Nothing. Under oath, they all told you the truth, but Adam Schiff has immunity, thereby he lied to you, and all these people went on TV and lied to you, but under oath, they all told you the truth. So now we got COVID, stay home, quarantine, riots, to take the issues off. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, in my hearing, in the very hearing in which I was accused of making false statements, Adam Schiff insisted repeatedly that the FBI had inspected the DNC servers. That's a lie. Why isn't he being prosecuted? We know that McCabe, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Comey particularly, Hillary Clinton, Rod Rosenstein, Lisa Page, Rod Struck, all of these people lied to Congress under oath. The difference between them and me is they lied about material things. They lied about things of consequence, and they had every intention of lying. In my case, misstatements that I make were essentially innocuous. They didn't hide under any underlying crimes, and they most certainly did not derail in any way the House Intelligence Committee's Russia investigation. No matter how I had answered, they would not have found any connection to Russia or any other illegal activity. So no, my indictment was written by Andrew Weissman. It's essentially a fabrication. I didn't have a fair trial in Washington. The jury was stacked with anti-Trumpers. There were no Republicans, no military veterans, nobody but Democratic activists or veterans of the Democratic administrations of Obama and Clinton, or people with direct ties to the DOJ or the FBI on that jury. We were prohibited from raising the strongest legal defenses, those of selective prosecution, that others had lied about material things and not been charged. I wasn't allowed to raise that. I wasn't allowed to prove that the Russians never hacked the DNC, and therefore there was no chance that WikiLeaks had been involved in espionage, in this case against the United States.
Mr. Stone, how would you say that, in your own words, I think it's because, the download speeds, it had to have been from a thumb drive. We can prove that the Russians didn't hack the DNC. How would you answer that question, sir?
Well, I think that we should have been allowed to present that information. You see, at that point, you got to recognize the kind of historical context here. The Steele dossier had collapsed as a credible argument. The Russian troll farm allegations had collapsed. The only leg left in the three-legged stool of Robert Mueller's Russian collusion hoax was the false claim that the Russians hacked the DNC. I was charged, and therefore I had to stand trial before Judge Jackson. There was no random selection of judges, as would normally be the case, because the prosecutors argued that my case was connected to the case of the 16 or 17 Russians they charged with hacking the DNC, a case in which there has never been discovery.
Yeah, they were let go.
They said at the time that there would be common evidence presented at that trial and in my trial. There was no trial from that. There was no evidence from that trial presented in my prosecution. This was a fraudulent statement design and a defrauding of the court designed to get me in front of a friendly judge, not friendly to me, but
friendly to Hillary,
the government and the deep state. It was successful.
Bingo.
So, I was subjected to a Soviet-style show trial, the kind of trial where, because of the limits on the topics and subjects of my defense, it would be like going into a boxing match with your hands tied behind your back and then being criticized because you didn't land a punch. Well, Stone didn't put up much of a defense. Well, I was prohibited from putting up much of a defense. And I had a stacked jury, a corrupt jury forewoman, and a hostile judge who was quick to accuse me in her sentencing remarks of crimes that I did not commit. And then after the trial, as you know, the federal guidelines held that I should have gotten 18 months for the crimes I was wrongfully committed of. The actual prosecutors who went to sentencing were argued for and got a term of 40 months. And the prosecutors who quit, none of whom were non-political career line prosecutors, as the media keeps saying, but hard-line leftist ideologues and operatives for both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they were arguing for 9 years. Wow. We have rapists and murderers are in this country who don't get 9 years. No, I was the subject of a political prosecution, of a witch hunt. And even today, the one thing they do not want, gentlemen, they do not want me on the battlefield of 2020. They do not want me free and out of prison to try to do whatever I possibly can to support President Donald Trump. That's why it's all the more urgent that they lock me up.
So, Roger Stone, you fought very hard for Trump in 2020. In fact, I worked with Paul Nagy with We Will Walk with Tracy Beans. Tracy Beans, myself. I made that meme when Bernie was hugging Hillary with his papers and it said, "Vote Trump." I made that meme. That was my first viral meme ever. And I really want to let you know that you did a lot. And, you know, so there's also been the questions with the Manafort ties. I know that you worked with him. How do you address those, sir?
Well,
And what happened with him? Because I think that's kind of being left out in, you know, in the open.
I think it's important to understand the context that Donald Trump had a magnificent run through the primaries and the caucuses and the state conventions where delegates were selected.
Yep.
And he was heading to a state convention where to a national convention where the party establishment, the Bushes, the Cruzes, the Kasichs were plotting together to deny him the nomination. It's important to understand the Republican National Convention is governed by its own rules, not by federal or state law. And therefore, the possibility of stealing the nomination from somebody, even though they had won the primaries and caucuses and had enough votes on the first ballot to be nominated, has a historical precedent. Senator Robert Taft, the conservative standard bearer, had enough votes to be nominated for president on the first ballot in Chicago, but he was beaten by General Dwight Eisenhower, who had a brilliant strategy by the party establishment, the Eastern establishment, to steal that nomination. And they did. Paul Manafort was recruited to run the president's convention operation because he is the single best convention politician left in America. There aren't many.
He did a great job securing the delegates, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Very,
That's
very
how Trump got.
states,
Yeah. Keep going, sir.
very few states still select their statewide nominees in convention.
Yep.
My native state and Manafort's, that's how we know each other. Connecticut is among the last. So Manafort is a wizard at convention politics. And frankly, Donald Trump knew him, needed him. The reason for that is that while Trump was rolling through the primaries and caucuses, winning big, various anti-Trump state chairmen were still appointing members of the all crucial credentials and rules and platform committee were appointing non-Trumpers. And the rules of the convention could be changed at any moment to say anything they want. So, for example, you could pass a rule that says only delegates wearing pink underwear outside their clothes will be allowed to vote. And if that passed, that would be the rule. So we needed Manafort at that juncture. He did a spectacular job. We had a great convention. There was an effort to steal the nomination in the Rules Committee of the Kasich and Cruz people working together. Manafort crushed that effort.
He did.
The Clintons were very, very concerned about Paul Manafort because he was known for his capability. He was an enormously capable and efficient manager. They did not want Paul Manafort working with Donald Trump. That's why they ended up taking their friends at the Justice Department and in the Mueller investigation, ended up taking 15-year-old charges, which had already been rejected as having not enough evidence to pursue. They recycled them and they used them to send Manafort to prison to punish him for his role in the nomination in the early campaign of Donald Trump.
So let's make this clear. What Mr. Stone is saying, Manafort's issues have nothing to do with Donald J. Trump.
Nothing.
Manafort is very, very good at what he does. He did an excellent job. Roger, thank you for clearing that up. I also want to, is your case in the SDNY, the Southern District of New York? And what are your, go ahead. Where's your case held, sir?
My case is in the DC circuit.
Okay.
And therefore, one of the questions I've got to decide in the next couple of days is whether I appeal this new ruling. Essentially what happened was late Friday, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who presided over my trial, rejected a motion by my lawyers because of the dangers of COVID virus and the specific facility that I was supposed to report to in 2 days on the 30th of June. We asked to have an extension on that time or to be sentenced to home confinement for the entirety of my sentence. Okay. Instead, the judge essentially placed me under immediate house arrest. That's where I am now, and extended the time for between now and when I need to surrender to that same prison to July 14th. So either the judge believes that the entire COVID thing will be solved in 2 weeks, which I think is unlikely, or she essentially ignored our arguments. I have a very strong appeal that I could file. On the other hand, as you know, it's not a secret, I have been praying for clemency from the president.
Yeah.
I want to end this entire ordeal. I'm tired, I am battered, I'm broke, but the final chapter has just not been written. I will not stop fighting.
Mr. Stone, we stand with you, and we've got a pretty large audience here. I think it's important for us to actually make sure that they understand that Roger Stone is a victim the very same way that General Flynn is. Now, we've done a lot of digging on General Flynn, as you know. Covington were his first lawyers, and we know that that's Holder and Deep State. How are you with your lawyers? Are you okay? Do you have Patriot lawyers like we do with Sidney Powell now?
Well, I think I have a high regard for my first lawyers on a personal basis,
Yes,
but
sir.
in all honesty, I don't think they were prepared for the extraordinarily political nature of this.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, Judge Jackson limited them very substantially in terms of what they can do. There are a lot of things in my trial, had I represented myself, that I would have done quite differently. You're well aware of the fact that Steve Bannon was the government's star witness against me.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, sir.
That is, when they declassified Bannon's testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, and you compare it with his sworn testimony in my case, it means that he either lied to the House Intelligence Committee or he lied at my trial, one or the other. It's that stark. Jonathan Turley, the George Washington University law professor, looked at both transcripts and said there's no question. Bannon has to have perjured himself in one place or the other. Now, if he lied to the House Intelligence Committee, that's the very crime that I'm charged with. Mm-hmm. Or did he lie at my trial, which is what I believe happened with a knowledge of the facts. He told the House Intelligence Committee under oath he never spoke to me about WikiLeaks ever on any occasion. That's the truth. He told that my trial, he said on the stand, that he talked to me about it in virtually every conversation we had in 2016, although there weren't that many of them, but that he considered me the Trump campaign's access point to WikiLeaks, which is news to me.
Right.
So, he was only one of several witnesses who lied on the stand. The prosecutors in my case suborned perjury. They knew what they were doing. In one case, Rick Gates, Manafort's former partner, who had emerged earlier as a witness against Manafort and a witness against Greg Craig, the lawyer, was given a 45-day sentence, even though he's charged with the same crimes as Manafort by and large. Mm-hmm. And he was allowed to walk on millions of dollars of unpaid taxes in return for his false testimony against me. But he lied at my trial. Randy Credico lied at my trial. He was the source of my scant information about WikiLeaks and never received anything substantive. But he did tell me that the WikiLeaks disclosures would be very significant, politically significant, kryptonite, he said, and they would come out in October. You know what? He was right about both of those things.
Wow.
So, no, my trial was a farce. I believe that my conviction will be reversed on appeal if I live long enough to get to the appeal.
We're praying for that, sir.
At least a year. It cost $1 million. Yeah. Yet this judge wants to incarcerate me next week. Now, for those patriots who want to help today.
Yes, I was just going to ask you that, sir. Everybody's wanting that shirt, sir. Go ahead.
Wow. You can get these shirts by going to fightback.store. Fightback.store.
Right.
And they are available. We also have the free Roger Stone shirts. There's also Pardon Roger Stone shirts. There's some great stuff. We have our new free Roger Stone masks.
We don't believe in those, though, sir. I'm sorry.
Well,
but we will support you. I'm going to get that shirt, sir. Just so you know, I am going to buy that shirt. I also want to just, and Shady, I'm sorry, I want to offer Roger Stone. We have a patriot here that has a steakhouse in Fort Lauderdale, okay? You have 2 free dinners, Mr. Stone, at Chuck's Steakhouse. Just mention Philip Proffer, and I will get that to Enrique, okay?
First of all, I love
sir.
Chuck's Steakhouse, one of my favorite restaurants. On the other hand, I'll be eating carryout because I am currently under home confinement. I'm literally under house arrest by order of Judge Amy Berman Jackson. For the next 2 weeks, I will be going nowhere. The government has the right to fit me with an ankle bracelet. I don't know if they choose to do so. The judge did not put any restrictions on visitors, but she may yet do that. No, we live in a police state. There's no question.
Roger Stone, that is amazing. And, okay, I'll make this offer. I live in Palm City, Florida. I will go to Chuck's, get your dinner for you and whoever you want, and drop it off for you, sir.
That would be Mrs. Stone, and we'd be most grateful. Let me continue, though.
Yep, sir.
Say the other ways you can help me besides getting and wearing this great T-shirt.
Yes, sir.
Again, you can get it fightback.store, fightback.store, or you can go to stonecoldtruth.com, and they're available there in the store, in the shop, I should say. But you could also help my legal defense fund to help me finance a probable appeal of the recent motion sending me to jail almost immediately. Oh, that's the free Roger Stone dog chorus that you hear.
I love it. I love it.
Or you could go to, you have to go to stonedefensefund.com
Right.
if you want to help finance this fight for freedom. Or if you want to help my family, because at this point you understand we're literally indigent. We have lost our home, our car, our savings, most of our insurance.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been able to work for 2 years. Everything I had was liquidated and put into my legal defense. So we're living very much hand to mouth. I'm talking about rent, groceries, gasoline, and frankly, medical expenses, mostly for my wife. You can go to stonefamilyfund.com. So
All right.
Stone Defense Fund, if you want to help the legal fight. Stone Family Fund, if you want to help us just stay on our feet and survive.
All
Well,
right, my mods are collecting those links. These links will be below the video if you're going to watch it later. Mods, please put those in a row for me so we can get that out from Mr. Stone. And you're going to start, guys, please, just let me know how much that you just donated to Mr. Stone, please. I want to see if the Matrixxx Groove show can help this fine patriot. Thank you. Shady.
Yeah, and I would like to just say that this is a disaster, and it has nothing to do with the way our justice system is supposed to work. And for them to be able to do what they've done to Mr. Stone and Mr. Flynn and all of these other people, where they make they're trying to make them shut up. They want them to cower in fear and to run away from a fight. And a lot of the times, Mr. Stone, a lot of people don't realize, like, this almost like a little club that they have there in DC, where these judges, they sort of operate together a little bit and they're tight knit. And then you also had the massive discrepancy with the jury. Like, even the other jurors have come out and said that the foreman on the jury was extraordinarily belligerent and very anti-Trump, and obviously anti-you in your case, not unbiased whatsoever. And like they play into this narrative that they have to protect. And the whole Russian hoax thing in the media, I mean, you got to think about thousands and thousands of news stories that they've done on this man, and they haven't investigated anything to prove anything other than what Adam Schiff and the corrupt people, Wiseman and the Mueller investigation, put forth for people to consume.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's very, very scary, because what happened to me can happen to any American.
Right.
In the blink of an eye, they can take away, most importantly, your voice. Remember, I was gagged in an unconstitutional gag order because the judge said that my social media postings and my public comments defending myself might affect the thinking of the jury pool, might taint the jury pool.
Oh,
what
absurd.
about the Washington Post and CNN? Were they tainting the jury pool? I would argue they're reaching a lot more of them than I was, certainly.
Sure.
But that doesn't matter. When I attempted to challenge the gag order in the DC Court of Appeals, they sat on it for 5 months. 5 months in which I was sustaining damage. And then they basically said, oh, this isn't right for decision. You have to ask Judge Jackson to remove the gag order herself first, and then you can come back to us. Well, A, that time it was trial time, and B, the judge who implemented and put in place the gag order was not going to remove it.
Mr. Stone,
It was a typical example of how the system works against the average citizen.
Mr. Stone, Zoltan just donated $500 to the family fund. I see 100. You're going to get some donations, sir. We are supporting you, and that's Zoltan. So if you want to say a special thank you to Zoltan, $500 to your family fund.
Anybody who helps, I really appreciate. Here's the one thing you can do. If you can't help financially, I understand. You can go to freerogerstone.com and sign the petition. We have over 400,000 signatures now. We're going to try to get 1 million signatures within the next 2 weeks. There's actually another 200 and some odd at another petition. So when you combine them, we're about at 600 today, which means we only need 400,000 more signatures. So go to freerogerstone.com. That's freerogerstone.com. Sign that petition. If you can't help financially, I understand. If you can, God bless you. I'm going to have to raise another $1 million to finance not only my appeal, but also finance the ongoing legal efforts to stay out of a prison that is a death sentence.
Wow.
This is meant to kill me. There's no question. That way, my appeal will never get to trial, and the epic corruption of the judge and the jury forewoman and the jury and the Mueller prosecutors and the U.S. attorney in D.C. will never be exposed. That is their motive in sending me to my demise.
That
I'm
is
not
why we
bluffing.
support you, sir, 100%.
This is not an exaggeration. I wish it was. My wife and my family, my children, my grandchildren, my sisters, they are petrified about what the future brings. Now, I think you know this, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you. I could have made this all go away very easily. On July 24th, the Mueller dirty cops offered me a deal. And Jeannie Ray, who is Hillary Clinton's lawyer in the fake email, or the stolen email case, I should say, and who lied to a federal judge in that case about how many emails Hillary had and how many have been turned over to the court. So she was a strange choice to prosecute me for lying to Congress. She offered one of my lawyers an arrangement under which if Roger Stone, your client, will confess, if he will come clean and tell the truth and admit that these 29 phone calls between he and candidate Trump in 2016 were really about the timing of the WikiLeaks drops and working with the Russians, well, then we would be willing to recommend to the judge that perhaps he served no jail time. In other words, they wanted me to bear false witness against the president like Michael Cohen did.
Wow.
They wanted me to lie, and I refused to do that. It would have saved me all of this agony. It would have saved me, all of this persecution, but I could never have looked myself in the mirror, nor could I play any role in taking down the greatest president in my lifetime.
Wow, Roger.
We are in an epic struggle against the globalists, and there was only one man standing between us and this country hurtling over the cliff to globalism and 1,000 years of darkness, and that is Donald Trump. His re-election is absolutely crucial to save this nation. We have a socialist revolution in the streets. They have destroyed a record economy, a boom economy that everybody said was impossible, but which Donald Trump delivered on.
Yes, he did.
We now they're talking about rigging our election through ballot fraud in a mail-in ballot scheme, which I think is a terrible, terrible idea, where the odds of corruption and theft, voter theft, is enormous. We have a very difficult election coming up. I can't imagine being under lock and key and not being on the battlefield to do everything I possibly can to re-elect this president. This is a thing, other than obviously my personal safety and who's going to support my family if I'm incarcerated. My third greatest concern, I guess, would be, how's this election going to go down, and how can I do everything humanly possible to help the election if I am unjustly incarcerated?
Right.
So I am hopeful that at the end of the day, that President Trump, in a humanitarian act of both justice and mercy, will either commute my sentence or issue me a pardon and end this horrific ordeal. I can't even begin to tell you how difficult this has been for me and my wife and my family.
Yes.
But I have no regrets about anything I did in the 2016 election because I did nothing wrong.
You did amazing, sir. You helped this president get elected, sir. You helped this president get elected, sir, and that I respect you for. I am behind you 110%, Mr. Stone. As you know, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but we are a Q channel here. We do know that China or foreign entities are printing mail-in ballot votes. They're protesting this COVID, so we can't vote in person. What are your thoughts on the votes and the printing of foreign entities printing votes for mail-in? Do we have to go and make sure we get in person and vote, Mr. Stone?
Well, first of all, it's important to recognize that 12 state constitutions absolutely require in-person voting and have no mechanism for absentee voting or early voting. Another 35 states require the showing of some kind of picture ID in order to vote. Nowhere does it say that some new federal law on mail ballots would just completely usurp all those state laws and constitutions. They wouldn't. Secondarily, I do think that we are in a situation where even the voter machines that we use today, which are simple computers really, are all controlled by companies in which George Soros or other bad actors have a very substantial interest. So even if we do vote in person in some states, in some urban areas, I have a concern about voter fraud through the manipulation of the servers, through the terminals to a central server, because that's basically what you have.
You're absolutely right, and that's what happened on the night of the election. That's why we had that stall in the election. Remember when Michigan and Pennsylvania and some others were stalling? I believe that they were releasing the vote fraud on the central computer for the vote, but it was actually stopped. Now, we've got Paul Nakasone in the NSA now. We've got some really good people. As you know, our president uses people, right, to do some hard work, right? Like the acting DNI. He actually did some D class. And now we've got Nakasone. We are understanding that Nakasone and the NSA have actually done some really good work to secure the 2020 election. So let's hope that your concerns, which are the same as mine, sir, are actually fixed. We just got to come out in droves, sir. What are your thoughts, real quick? And we understand that there's been a lot of, and thank you for coming on this show, sir. We helped a movie called Out of Shadows get 1 million views overnight. These people out here that are in chat supporting you right now. We helped Joe Ray Perkins in Oregon get almost 50% of the vote because she appeared on this show, sir. They show us that we're only like maybe 15, 20,000 views, but I think we're a lot louder than that. And thank you for coming. I don't want to ask you, because everybody wants to know who Q is, but I don't know if you've been following it at all because you've got your own issues. But what we know what Q is asking questions, and we find the information, and it lines up with a lot of the stuff that you say, sir. So what we're doing is just waking up a lot of people. The information is Q. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to ask your opinion on how this movement underneath Trump is helping him get elected and waking up a lot of people.
Obviously, I get this question quite a bit as I was traveling and speaking as much as I can. I do a lot of interviews and I meet with a lot of Patriot groups. And I always get the question, Mr. Stone, is Q real? And my answer is always the same. I always say, I don't know, but let me tell you this. I certainly hope Q is real.
Yeah.
And there are a number of indications that the information that is being disseminated has been of an enormous value in this fight for freedom. So I have been completely consumed by my own fight for freedom, but I've met many, many, many great patriots through the Q movement, and I honestly believe that if we hang together, we can save this country.
100%.
But the next election is going to be crucial, and I'm going to be laying out in writing over the next week a comprehensive plan of the things that I would do to make sure the president gets reelected. Essentially, I'm going to lay out a campaign strategy based as I see it. Now, I don't have access to all of the latest polling
right.
That the Trump campaign or the Republican National Committee does have. It's important for people to understand that politics is a science. This is not a game of guessing or hunches or intuition, that all of your decisions are based on scientific data and in-depth polling that is designed not to figure out what's popular and what isn't, but to figure out which ideas to stress, which ideas to de-accentuate, how to put forward issues, certain issues, how to word them, how to present them, and also to tell you, who's available, who's undecided, so you can target the undecideds, and also figure out what best way to bolster your own soft voters and make sure that they turn out. So the use of sophisticated polling is absolutely crucial. But I'm going to be making my prognostications and my recommendations, I should say, based on what little polling I can get my hands on and my experience in 10 national presidential campaigns, 9 of them for Republicans, 1 of them for a libertarian. Because even I admit that the idea of Mitt Romney being president was so bad, I had to leave the party of Lincoln, Goldwater, and Reagan briefly to join the Libertarian Party, where I felt more comfortable, at least that year. And then when Donald Trump staged the hostile takeover of the Republican Party, I returned to the party of my ancestors, where I am most comfortable.
That's right.
So I guess I hope I have addressed your question.
No,
that's my best answer.
Roger, that was actually a really good answer, because you've been on the front lines. The stuff that you have been doing is what Q is kind of telling us about. So it's almost like we're getting, ramped up to almost the knowledge that you have in your head, sir, which is amazing. He's a fighter, but we're in this system where we have Republicans that are bad and Democrats that are bad. We have an issue here in Florida, sir, where our Republican Party are acting like they're Trump people, but they're not. They're anti-Trumpers. That's why Trump Team 2020 here in Florida is kicking butt and taking names. What is your opinion on how we should actually address our local Republican parties? Because we've got to look local, Mr. Stone.
Well, first of all, it is important to recognize that in Florida, of course, you have the home state of two of the 2016 contenders, Senator Marco Rubio and former Governor Jeb Bush, and that therefore most of the party regulars in this state were for one or the other. And the Trump movement really didn't spring out of the state party or the state Republican structure. It was really outside that structure. And of course, Donald Trump won the Florida primary, handsomely.
Yep.
In that showdown. There certainly are some in the party who are pretending to be Trump supporters, but who really aren't. But you're going to need the same kind of independent effort that we had 4 years ago in order to win Florida. We're going to have to get outside the country clubs in order to pull the votes of blue-collar workers and other traditionally Democratic voters in the state who realize that Joe Biden's prescription for the future is a disaster. So I guess if I were going to frame this election, here's the way I would do it. Donald Trump became president, and we were told that America's economy could not be revived, that for structural reasons, we had to accept the fact that America's great days were behind us. We would no longer be the world's leader. We just had to accept a second back seat in the global economy. And Donald Trump refused to accept that. And he unleashed a program of cutting taxes and cutting regulation that brought us the greatest economic boom in our history. Record employment, record wage growth, bringing billions of dollars back into the country, record job creation, all of which was destroyed, unfortunately, because the president had to be vigilant about the public health in the COVID-19 crisis. Now we're at a crisis, a crossroads, where our economy is weak, again, down to depression proportions. Who is better to rebuild our economy? A man who has already proven once that he can do it against all odds, or a man whose prescription for a sick economy will only make it sicker? More spending, higher taxes, and more regulation, which is what Joe Biden proposes, will not bring our economic problems full cycle. It will only make things worse than they are today. I put my bet on the guy who's already proven he can do it once, because if he did it once, he can surely do it again. There is your campaign theme. That is how he gets reelected.
Wow.
That is what his proponents, including all of those watching the show, need to start talking about.
Yeah, I would agree.
Genius.
I would agree with that 100%. And it's like very interesting to me to see like what before the whole COVID thing, and we were watching the rallies and the different polling data and stuff that was coming out from on the ground around there, to see that there was between, almost every one of them, somewhere between 18 and 25% people that were admitting that they were there that were registered Democrats, so we do see that we are getting into the conversation with the left of, people who are center left, if you will, or old Democrat Party Democrats, not hardline socialists, and they're seeing the through the fog of the media, and a lot of the stuff that has to do with your story and the story of General Flynn has really brought more people to this, because we can see the media is trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and it doesn't really matter which side you're on. It just matters that they are lying to us. And we have the perfect example for your case of, just like you said, if they do it to you, if they do it to Donald Trump, they can do it to any one of us that they want to target, unless we stand up and be heard this November.
Well, it's important for people to recognize that the same people who tried to destroy General Flynn and the same people who are trying to destroy me today are the exact same people who tried twice, at least, and maybe 3 times, to take down Donald Trump. If the Mueller investigation was illegitimate, and it was, then how can their charges against me be legitimate? I think it's an honest question to which I do not have an answer. Mrs. Stone is telling me that dinner will soon be on the table, so I am honored to have been with the Matrixxx Grooove. This has been a great program.
Wow.
Once again, I want to reiterate: if you want to sign the petition to the president to grant an active clemency in my case, either a commutation of sentence or a pardon, either one would be fine. If a commutation of sentence, I get to pursue my appeal, in which I will be exonerated. If a pardon, well, then this fight is over, which will be a relief to Mrs. Stone. But you can go to freerogerstone.com. That's freerogerstone.com to sign that petition. We have 2 weeks. We're going to try to deliver 1 million petitions to the White House. I've asked Laura Loomer whether she will deliver them in person, and she says she will. And we know that nothing ever gets between her and a goal of hers. So she's a great patriot, great friend of mine. And therefore, please sign the petition as soon as you can so we can include you in that vital, vital effort. Again,
Doing it now.
freerogerstone.com.
freerogerstone.com. And Mr. Stone, Jesse Melton, I met you twice. I met you down in Doral. You were amazing. And I also met you with Jesse Melton. How does Jesse Melton, how do we get behind her to beat Ted Deutsch, sir?
Well, Ted Deutsch, or better known
And
as
Loomer
Ted
with,
Douche.
you know, where she's at, sir. Go ahead.
Ted Douche is one of the worst members of Congress. He wants to take away your gun. He is a fish-faced enemy of the people. And I'm glad that Jesse is running. Now, let's not kid ourselves. It's a very difficult district. It's an uphill climb. That's also true in the district where Laura Loomer, my friend, is challenging Lois Frankel.
Yep.
But we have 2 great candidates there. Jesse Melton has enormous energy, enormous courage. See, I admire the person who gets in the arena, not the person who stands on the sidelines and says, well, I don't know, it's not a sure thing, and I don't want to go unless it's positive, and I won't run unless there's a guarantee that I can win. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work like that.
You have to get in the water if you're going to swim, and you got to get in the race if you're going to contend. In 1947, had Nixon looked at that congressional race and used the criteria that I would only run if I'm a sure bet, he would never have run. Therefore, he would never become senator. He would never become vice president. He would never become president. But instead, he got into the kind of race that Jesse Melton's in right now, an uphill race, a difficult race, where the odds were against him. And he simply outfought, outworked, and outcampaigned his opponent. And she can do the same thing. She's a terrific candidate. I commend you for supporting her. And I would wish I could do more for her. There's a fundraiser for her the other night that I could not attend because I was awaiting sentencing, or I was awaiting word of my motion for delay in my sentencing. I was huddled with my lawyers until the last minute. But I'm 100% behind Jesse Melton, as I am 100% behind Laura Loomer. There are other candidates in Florida that I will be supporting. Judson Sapp, running for the seat of the retiring Ted Yoho in North Florida, a great conservative, a businessman in a Republican district that I think he will win. Matt Gaetz needs reinforcements. Matt Gaetz is a great guy. He's a great conservative. He's got enormous courage, but we need more like him.
Yes, sir.
And the 3 candidates I just named, Loomer, Melton, Sapp, they would be all a great addition to the U.S. House. In my opinion.
One more quick question before I let you go. Tell Mrs. Stone I apologize, but one more quick question. Something that I've noticed, sir, the Jewish congressman from Parkland, Ted Deutsch, he uses that, and we know that that area is a very high Jewish area, but he votes with the radical Islamicists, sir. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, you're absolutely right. And that is the issue that can beat him, because I think those voters need to be educated. Look, Joe Biden won the South Carolina primary basically on the backs of black voters. Those voters have no idea that he started his political career opposing the segregation of the Wilmington school system, and that he's responsible for the 1994 crime bill, which mandated the harsh mandatory penalties for the first-time nonviolent crime of possession of small amounts of drugs. And this law, which has just failed, whether you're a conservative, whether you're a liberal, you have to recognize that the war on drugs has been a failure. It has rehabilitated no one. It is costing taxpayers billions to incarcerate people who aren't violent criminals and shouldn't be in jail. And it has fallen disproportionately on African Americans and people of color.
Right.
It is a social disaster. It's an economic disaster. It is a racist disaster. Joe Biden is the father of that law. But those voters in South Carolina, they don't know that because no one has ever told them. They are not educated yet as to who the real Joe Biden is. And when they learn that it's Donald Trump who sponsored the Second Chance Act, which has gotten a second chance for these poor people and people of color who are trapped deeply in the bowels of a U.S. penal system, and it is Joe Biden who locked him up and threw away the key. That will be a crucial issue in this upcoming election, in my opinion.
Roger, I know you got to go. Thank you so much. If you could ever help us, we're just funded by the people out here in chat. We've been demonetized. If you ever think that we did a good interview and somebody wants to help us out, if you could help us out, I would appreciate it. Mr. Stone, God bless you. Pardon Roger Stone. We will drop those links. Mr. Stone, I've got 140,000 followers on Twitter. Your intro video had over 80,000 views, sir. I will put portions of this interview up, and we stand with you, sir.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody involved in Matrixxx Grooove. I'm going to do as many of these tonight as I can, because I think combined we will have a larger audience than those fools at CNN who we all know intend to engage in character assassination with that great journalist, Jake Tapper, who is going to be conducting.
We are the news now, sir, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Much love, Roger Stone. We're all praying for you. That was Roger Stone, everybody. Wow, what a great interview, folks. What do you think of that? Shady, let's just wind down. I'm so excited. I'm shot out of a cannon. I didn't sleep for, 3 hours only in the last day or two. Guys on chat, how did we do? Shady, your take.
Man, I really appreciate his time. I know that he is limited on time in general in trying to talk to people and get things out, but I was really happy just to kind of let him talk right there, because he is under an unbelievable amount of stress, and what they have done to him in the court system is an absolute farce. I mean, we were talking about, we're all out here, Matrixxx, you and I, every day we're out here, we're fighting for justice, we're fighting for equality under the law, and we're fighting against corruption and all of these different things. But the truth of the matter is the corruption is, it's everywhere, and it exists to support itself. Like, it literally is like a self-fulfilling prophecy there, where they can't let any truth out from around the control system. And so, with them running for this, 3 years, they've been attacking this man. I mean, it's been over 3 years that this is 4 years, whatever, since it's been going on. And it's relentless, I mean, and we saw what the Mueller team did to your president. He did it to the elected president. They were still authorizing FISA warrants that had no grounds or basis in fact. And so, whenever we pull back and we say, oh, well, we look at all these cases, the DOJ and the FBI and all these plea deals, what is it? 90% of the cases end up in a plea deal. Well, right there, they offered him a plea deal if he would lie. It's not really that hard for a man to stand there and be like, oh, right, what do I do? Like, you're really going to destroy me? Surely they're not going to destroy me. I'm not going to lie, and so I would just hope that everyone sees how very important this is, and personalize it a little bit. Like, what would you do? Like, if you were, if I was General Flynn, for instance, and they were attacking my son like that, I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't tell them what they wanted to hear to prevent them from attacking him. That's probably what I would do too. And so, this is a travesty in justice, and we are fighting not for the system that's in place. Remember that. We're not fighting for this system that is persecuting people. We're fighting for the people that Donald Trump has put in place to be fair and just. And I think that that's a lot of what we should take away from this.
And how do you think this basically mirrors General Flynn.
It really does.
How do you think that he handled the Q question? I didn't really want to, put him on the spot, of course.
Well,
this was about him fighting as an American citizen, no matter if you like him or not, right? If you like him or not, he's fighting for the American system. He did, in fact, fight for Donald J. Trump. We know where he's been. We know the Q posts, everybody. But our president of the United States retweeted yesterday, pardon Roger Stone. Also, the interview that Kiwi Patriot and Sue did with Sean Hannity, and we saw it in the video in the beginning, that cemented it for me. And I've actually met him twice, but was hesitant because of what we have on the Q boards, right? I was hesitant to I didn't want to, we need to stand together, period.
Yeah, and I think that he really hit into that there, with what he was talking about. He's like, I get the question a lot. People are asking me, is Q real? I would imagine that he has not went through and read a huge amount of the Q posts. I'm sure he's seen some of them.
That's right.
But at some point, you and I learned a long time ago that the idea of like, is Q real is kind of an inadvertent question, and so the truth of the matter is what we've done in creating this web or this network of patriots around the world to move this information around is exactly what he was talking about there. We got to get patriots involved. We got to get patriots to care. We got to get patriots to show up at the ballot box in person. We have to not be complacent, and we have to fight for our individual districts. The individual districts that we're each in is very, very important, man.
And that's why I wanted to bring in, because I met him at Jesse Melton. First of all, I met him at the in Doral for the I'm spacing out the name of it. Anyways, a lot of people were there. They gave me a $2,000 ticket where I had VIP. I met everybody. I met Don Jr. I met Sarah Huckabee. I met everybody. I stayed in the same area as Don Jr. I met Kim in the thing. Don Jr. pushed over Charlie Kirk, who I love, by the way, to shake my hand. They know who we are, guys. And, who is Q is always the question. It's not who, it's what. And I think he answered that perfectly. I also wanted to bring it back down to our own states, Shady.
Right.
Our own states, and he confirmed my thoughts and concerns that the Republican parties in your own states are acting like they're Donald Trump, but they're really not. So what people here in Florida are doing, they're rescinding from the Republican Party and they're joining Trump Team 2020.
Which is setting up a different network. And I would also like to point out, we are seeing, and I know there's not any news stories on it, but we're seeing this push in multiple states for the subversion of the Electoral College, where they're basically saying, oh, we're going to vote, our state's going to vote with the majority, which doesn't really work out. But at the same time, you've got some GOP people that are going along with this nullification of the Electoral College. And I've said it more than one time that when I was younger, I didn't think that it was significant or relevant. But now that I see the broader scope of how the Constitution was written and it was all set up, it's imperative. It is probably one of the most genius things that we have in our Constitution, to be quite honest with you.
Misfire. Sorry, guys. Go Shady. I'm so. Oops.
No, it's good. Don't you think, the Electoral College, without that, like, look at how uneven, look at how mob rule, like we think about what Thomas Jefferson was saying about the mob rule. I mean, he specifically said, if everybody ends up piled up on top of each other in cities, you're going to be in worse shape than Europe because of mob rule. And this is, and you guys, you wonderful, beautiful Q Patriots out there are a threat to their democracy. You're dangerous to their democracy. You're dangerous to mob rule because you believe in individual and independent thought and opinions on who you want to vote for.
We are not a democracy, and that's why I think, Shady, we need to get that for our Republic show going. People are telling us that a lot in my ear. And we are going to be going a little bit closer into election year. Shady and I are taking, a couple, like we're only doing 3 days with maybe a Q Lounge Live. We're resting up because the battle is coming. I also want to let you know that we are on the battlefield. Roger Stone knows how to get people elected. He was behind Donald J. Trump. I know he's been at other places. I know that. We've got to stop. In fact, if we look at the Q post today, Shady, I think it answers everything. You guys want to look at the new Q post, Shady? You want to check it out?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, we can go there.
And I want to show you that Shady and I are realizing that there are people out there that are kind of being like Pied Pipers, okay? Dan Bongino got a really nice contract with Parler, and God bless him. Sean Hannity. Let's see who else is doing it. Matt, what's that guy's name? Matt, the Seth Rich guy. What's his name, Shady?
Couch.
Matt Couch.
Couch. Yes, Matt Couch.
who had an interesting guy that has an AS initial as an interview, and he thinks that's who the letter 17 is. And I'm not going to say
he
the guy's
also
name
has
because it doesn't matter.
He has like 300,000 followers, and he's.
I hope the money's worth it, Shady.
Yeah.
By the way, Lori Henry right here, this is what the president retweeted yesterday. It's time to pardon Roger Stone. Now let me go to her. Check this out. So I said, thank you. Here we go. She tweeted it out, guys. We had a lot of beautiful Patriots out there. She's been POTUSed 23 times and she follows me. We are louder than you guys think. We are louder than they show us. But I'm so glad that Roger Stone actually came on a Q channel. Do you know how big that is, Shady?
That's pretty huge, guys.
You know why? Because when I spoke with him and Enrique, I told them that we helped Out of Shadows get 1 million. I mean, obviously we all prayed and made sure that it got out there, but we did the actions to get it to 1 million. Q'd it, said best documentary of the year. That is, I think, Q telling you and us how much reach we really have. We helped Joe Ray Perkins, Shady, get elected. We had Media Matters saying, Right Wing Watch or whatever it's called, saying Mike Smith didn't have a marketing program, but he appeared on top QAnon content creator in the Matrixxx. How did that happen, guys? We are bigger than we know. They want us on Parler. Why do they want us on Parler? Who else, Shady, wants us on Parler?
Hillary.
Right. Remember the top 200 list.
Always
said the 200 list is bigger than 200. It includes you. Clinton is worried about Q and pro-POTUS Patriots.
And it's not just about her either. It's also about the rhinos. The rhinos in the GOP as well are not very excited about you fighting on Twitter for the president and the support. I mean, I have to say,
that's absolutely right.
How come that we don't have a coalition that's formed within the GOP that's somehow making a national issue out of tech tyranny, right? I mean, you're all out there. If you're on Twitter, you can see you're obviously being suppressed. You're not making anywhere close to the numbers of people that are following you, of interactions on your accounts, but there's no real voice speaking for us. There's no voice in the Senate speaking for us. There's no, they haven't even held a hearing in the Intel committee on anything other than impeaching the president all year long.
Right.
So the Intel committee isn't handling how did the Wuhan come from China. They're not handling how are the scientists and stuff just keep coming here on visas. The president is literally doing all of this work while they kind of sit back and are like, oh man, maybe Biden's gonna win, almost like hoping that he wins. And now we're seeing this push to get people off of Twitter. Makes me very upset because I do not feel like Parler is a place to go. I'm afraid that people are going to go to Parler and then you're going to get comfortable there because you're surrounded by a confirmation bias. We didn't get here, Matrixxx, where we're at today as a group by confirmation bias. We actually got here in the exact opposite way. We got here by paying attention to what they're saying and then disproving them, not going over here and having our own little club.
That's right. And I want to interject with something because Stormy Joe Patriots out there, much love to you, brother.
Hey, Stormy Joe.
He's awesome. And he's saying, Parler is where the battleground is, but it is. But it's so hard to deal with. I can't follow anything. But remember when Q posted the article about the worth remembering about the QAnon in Europe, Stormy Joe, Discord is also the battleground. So Q said Parler could be the battleground. That's true. However, our president is right here. I mean, I got Clinton calling me a foreign disinfo agent, but DARPA saying, no, he's not. That's why DARPA unblocked me. But the point is all of us are saying, well, it's a backup. Yes, but do you realize the people that Dan Bongino talks to don't think like you do. They're a Pied Piper leading normies out of Twitter. Who wants them off Twitter? The war is real. The threat is real. Clinton panic. Clinton fear. Clinton wants Q and pro-POTUS Patriots off Twitter. We all know, I know. But they don't. They're Pied Pipers. And Mr. Bongino, I respect you a lot. I hope the money was worth it.
it just kind of just is what they're doing. You know, I mean, we can see what they're doing. I don't trust anyone other than what Q team is telling us and what the president is telling us. That is the only source of information where we can be together and work out of. So the Q information is what we're moving. And if we're moving the Q information to Parler, most people that are on Parler are there because they've left Twitter already. And the information that is there, yes, there's going to be new people come there, and you're going to get high follower accounts, and you're going to get decent interaction.
And I'm there too, Shady. I got, I'm same name in Parler.
You're not going to get negative memes from the opposite party, but you're also not going to be able to support your president. Like for instance,
let me just real quick, Stormy. I didn't mean to take you out of context. Twitter is the battleground. He knows that, and I know that. Patriot Joe, Stormy Joe, you're amazing, and you're a warrior, and you're on the front lines every day. But the normie people will leave. And Shady, I just wanted to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, we're concerned about them pulling the eyes that would maybe see us. Like for instance, like if you go out, if you
Who
go
owns
right
Parler, Shady?
on your machine, if you go and you open up a browser, just for me, just do this maybe this evening. Go on your machine and open up a browser where you are not logged into Twitter, and go to the president's timeline, click on the last couple of tweets that he's made, and I would suggest you just read to see what everybody else is seeing under there. Because right now, if you're logged into Twitter and you're a Q account, you're only going to see people like Matrixxx or us or Carly or the higher
Pragmatic, etc. Right, people that we know and interact with. Yes,
few accounts. You're not going to see any of what I would consider the disgusting left and what they're actually posting under his account. But if you go to a browser where you're not logged in, you'll see what the war really is. You'll see how ugly it really is, what they're posting under his account, and the propaganda. The media is putting out the propaganda, and then the people are parroting it, and there's nobody there to counter that narrative right now. Like I clicked on probably 200 different responses in 10 or 12 different tweets that he's made. Yes. And from not being signed in, I didn't see one Q account. Not one, guys. Now think about that.
I'm there.
None. So if you're signed in
sorry.
If you're from the blue wave signed into Twitter, you're not seeing our stuff.
Shady, do you remember when we did a dig and the Anons actually did a test? Some dude bought a new phone and totally acted like a liberal, on Twitter. There are two different Twitters. Even the follow buttons is what we see. Follow. But they say recommended to follow. Like, how we see like the 4 recommend. Everybody says recommended follow, or it's a different Twitter. There are 2 Twitters. Think mirror. But that's why we have to get below the blue checks as much as we can. That's how we break the Twitter algorithms. Also, Q pointed us to the Enoch. Remember Ellen Nichelle? He posted, as we did.
Take the oath.
Take the oath, right? He said, notice that a lot of the people didn't put QAnon. So what I'm going to do is put less hashtags in. We just need to post memes with nothing. Shady. We need to get each other's back. I actually was helping somebody where he got suspended, but I had his back. So when one falls, another one picks up. We've got to retweet each other. We've got to help each other. When one falls, another one comes down. I've got a backup account on Twitter too. I will be letting you guys know that as well. We're going to figure this out, guys. I've been playing with the algorithms. I've figured out a few things that Q is talking about. Okay, so YouTube links don't work. Do you know people don't even know we have a YouTube, Shady?
I every day somebody sends me a message saying that they didn't know we had a show every day.
Right. And so we're going to be going into this a little bit more. And I want to point out one thing when you read this post. This is a beautiful post, and it's kind of a conglomeration of some old posts that we've actually read, Shady. But I want to point one thing out to you. One thing, Shady. Remember, it didn't say we need a new vessel, a new place to go. Remember that, Shady? A new ship. It's not in here, Shady. This post? Yes, part of this is here. Remember, and I'll dig this up, and we'll have more of the source tomorrow. I'm not prepared to do it today, but there was that Q post that we loved, Shady. Remember, it said there will be a new vessel for us to all go, right? To a new platform. That's not in this post. It's not in this post. Okay? So to me, that's Q confirming because I posted this just before Q posted. So, yes, go to Parler as backup. That's fine. That way you can tell me your new Twitter account. But the war is real. The deep state wants you off Twitter. I've always said that this 200 list includes you. Whether you have 1 follower or 1 million followers or 80 million followers like our president, guys. The
Well, yeah, let's
war
think about
is
that
here.
real quick. You know, like we in December he had 65, 66 million, and now he's close to 85 million. I mean, you gain look at how many people have came to his Twitter to follow him. You know, the people on the left that don't like him, that go and troll him, aren't following him.
Right.
You know, and that's the truth for Facebook too.
So we all need to work together to find out how we beat this Tron system, Shady.
Correct.
And I've been doing some tests, okay? Sometimes I'll see a tweet that lack of response. It's like 30. Y'all at least get 208. Like this one has 282. I mean, that's kind of normal. That's what they show me. Sometimes I'll get one that breaks out, right? And what I'll do is I'll reply to it and ask you guys to retweet it. It's interesting. I have to ask people to retweet, and they do it, and they do it freely. I need to figure out how we can all get together. We all need to retweet the Q threads. What happens too is when I post a new thread, it doesn't show you a notification. It only shows you the notification for the first actual tweet. On my account, so intheMatrixxx is you two guys. It's all of us, right? We need to get together and do this. We need to retweet each other as much as we can. And I got to tell you, the war, it's going to get more real. We need to get behind Ella Nichelle. We need to get behind Carly. We need to get behind Shady. Shady's got some amazing stuff, guys. Now, what I believe and Stormy Patriot Joe, I'm going to talk to you after the show. Send me your Discord. We need to get a Discord server. And you guys are helping us. It's $10 a month. Patreon.com/intheMatrixxx. We are going to get a little more organized there as well. And Joe, I want to get you in there. Pseudonym, if you can reach out to her, she'll get you in. And you don't have to worry about it. You'll be an honorary soldier in the Q Army there because you're amazing. So we need to get together and we need to do it. I can't navigate Parler, Shady. I don't think that's our staging area because I can't navigate it. Now, yes, Devin Nunes has tweeted it out, right? We've had some big people that we respect tweeted out Parler, but maybe some new people can go to Parler, and that's great. But the war is here with our president. When the president moves to whatever platform, he will. Now, the president, Shady, made a comment where I am going to have a platform where I can converse with 100 million people, okay? I happen to think that will be the presidential alert system.
Right. I lean that way too.
And, you know, Sultan and I, who's amazing, by the way, we're going to have Sultan on the show, Shady, pretty soon. And he's going to have his own show too. And I'm going to totally get behind him. He's been amazing. The EBS, right, Joe? But it said converse, which kind of means two-way, but it doesn't necessarily have to, right? Right now, as Shady was explaining earlier, people don't see the president's tweets. So he can't converse with people that don't see it. So the team blue on Twitter, even if they maybe go look for it, they might not be able to see the president's tweet, Shady.
No, that's true. And they make it difficult to find.
Right. So
they don't want people to see what whenever he's tweeting out law and order. That's very easy to understand, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, what's Joe Biden say? Well, Joe Biden's been there for 50 years. And what Roger?
Oh, dude, here it is. Look, how do you communicate directly with the people? There it is. I didn't even see this post yet. It's the EBS, Shady. All right.
I'm wondering if he's not going to use EBS for for a civics lesson, because people out there need to understand what your system of government is. They're so stupid.
Press 17 if the Matrixxx Groove show should be on the EBS system. Let me see. Come on. Guys, this has been an amazing day. Yes, so tomorrow, Shady Groove and I will be going over a lot of new Q posts, okay? We'll be going over every single one. Let me see, 17.
And we also have a very special guest coming in on Tuesday. Bards of War is joining us.
Yes, we have Bards of War joining us. And Shady, you guys here on the Matrixxx Groove Show are amazing, and thank you for supporting us. We raised a lot of money for JT Wild, and a blessing. But Shady Groove and I have been demonetized here on Twitter. We need your help. Thank God I'm in a position to where I don't have as much stuff, Shady. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I've got my life in a place where I'm really good right now, but we want to do a lot of things and we can't do it. So we want to hire somebody to help us. We can't do it. We want to get the website finished, but we can't do it. Shady Groove has been amazing, and understanding the position that I've been in, and I've been struggling for months and wasn't able to help Shady. And now we've got the demonetization of YouTube, and we're a Q channel. We need your help, guys, now more than ever. So with that, Shady Groove, tomorrow, you and me.
Here we go, live.
Bards of War. And I want to give you a hint of how amazing life is right now. Let's just say a judge actually signs the paper. We might have a very special guest. I'm just going to leave it at that, Shady.
I would like for everybody out there to, if you did not catch the show on Friday night, to maybe backtrack and catch it. I really feel like I gave you lots of tools to awaken new people with on the Q Lounge. Like, I gave you lots of different places that you're going to, and with the links and stuff that we dropped there, I want you to store those for later. Even if you may not have somebody asking questions right now, part of the idea is to store that information and remember it so that you can present it to people, because pretty soon there's going to be a lot of people who are, even maybe right now, on Twitter tweeting Orange Man bad, but 2 or 3 months from now, they may be coming to you and saying, I mean, how many accounts have you seen in the last 3 or 4 months saying, I just woke up, I will never vote for another Democrat? I have seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those posts in the last just couple of months alone, which has escalated greatly from a year ago. So we are on the move, and we are being effective. You are being effective, guys. People are waking up, and part of the big push you're seeing in the mainstream right now to attack Roger Stone, to attack General Flynn, they're acting like, they're acting like everybody's guilty until you prove yourself innocent, which is the opposite of our system and of our institutions here in America. That's so right. That countering that narrative isn't going to be easy, but I think we found some of the most beautiful patriots in the world to do the job.
That's right. You guys are amazing. And we'll be back at you guys. Let me just find this real quick, guys. I thought I had it at the ready. Stand by. 1 second. Shady, just take a couple seconds to Shady, will you remember how we were talking about what the Matrixxx Groove Hour is and what the Q Lounge Live is? Let's kind of explain that, because it's so true. How we're today and the narrative and fighting the narrative every day. Shady?
Well, I'm not quite understanding where you're trying to get me to go there.
Well, the Q Lounge Live, in my opinion, is like what we need to do, like kind of after Q.
Oh, right.
And how to get there, like how to do this, like on the Matrixxx Groove Hour, we're today narrative. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so the idea kind of is that we're covering what's up here, we're covering what's on the surface, and we're covering what's day to day and what Q is wanting us to look at, and the beautiful anons and stuff on Twitter. And then what we're trying to do with the Q Lounge is we're trying to give you the historical context. You know, I mean, when I initially started doing that show, I was doing similar to what we do on the Matrixxx Grooove show, where I was making sure I got every Q post in there and discussing each Q post. But since we started working together, I kind of pivoted a little bit because I really wanted you guys to have tools. I feel like, you know, I've been blessed. I was blessed as a human being to have woken up to a lot of this stuff a long, long time ago. And to have this archive of information, it's stagnant unless we move it, you know, and to look back at all the wonderful people, whether it be Bill Cooper or whether it be Edward Griffin or whoever, all these older people are, you know, I even showed a video the other night of Charlie Chaplin. Like, all of these people have this understanding of what our country is, but a lot of it, you know, we have to also realize for the last 120 years, we haven't been our country. The last 140 years, we really haven't been America. And so the left is currently weaponizing the things that the deep state did, mostly like things like, you know, destroying the Indian population in America, taking in all the mining rights, confiscating and monopolizing all these different systems in our government. Well, that was done by the deep state. But the left is pointing to that as America, you see? And so they're not that far off base. They just don't understand the context. And so what I've been trying to do is provide you guys with context, historical context that brings it to the now, to show, like, how did the architecture and the blueprints of all this stuff affect your life today? It affects our life today. And I feel like a good amount of people in the Q movement are sitting there looking for the next Q post. And that's kind of not what I think Q wants us to do. I think Q wants us to become learned. He wants you to be able to snap a finger and spout out information as soon as people are asking, and become more efficient at that. And so we're trying to really give you guys the subtext of a lot of the stuff that Q is exposing.
That's right. And guys, thank you very much. Shady Groove, well said. And yes, the Q Lounge live Friday night, guys. The stream was interrupted 3 times. Shady,
I pushed forward.
you are amazing, and we're gonna try to bring you more stuff. But you know, we need your help. We are a Patriot-funded researchers. We're a Patriot-funded show. We are a lot bigger because of you than they show us. So we're gonna try to do some more stuff, like maybe only half-hour videos, because you know, once you come here, guys, to the Matrixxx Groove show, we can't call it the hour anymore. Pretty much people are like, wow, this is awesome because we're interactive. You can interact with us. We talk to you guys because we couldn't do this without you. We do live group digs. We love you. And Shady, honored to be with you. The Q Lounge Live has really been morphing into something huge. And I'm so proud of you. Please help us share this channel. Help us grow if you can. We need you now more than ever. PayPal, Patreon, get in the Discord. $10, get in there, help us. That's a good place where we can stage and work together. We need you. POTUS needs you. Shady.
Roger Stone needs you.
Roger Stone needs you. And I want to play this going out, guys. This is the Deplorable Choir. Shady.
I said thank you very much, Patriots. We'll see you tomorrow at 1300.
Much love. See you guys. Thank you guys for coming. Tweet it out. Watch CNN at 10 to watch what they're going to do to Roger. Roger Stone, thank you so much. Roger Stone's links will be down below. We're out.
Roger Stone did nothing wrong, leave Roger Stone alone. Roger Stone did nothing wrong, leave Roger Stone alone. Bill Clinton went to the White House, helped himself to some chicks. Then Hillary intimidated, asked Miss Broderick. That dirty duo lined their pockets at our expense, and those knew the truth would go down. Just ask Seth Rick. Roger Stone did nothing wrong, leave Roger Stone alone. Roger Stone did nothing wrong, leave Roger Stone alone. When you mess with the Clinton, there's a target on your back. Catch a suicide or jail for life or a sudden heart attack. They'll call you Russian assets when they're all out of luck. Tell me how you get obstruction when there's nothing to obstruct. Roger Stone did nothing wrong, leave Roger Stone
nothing wrong that the FBI need to press when they bash their way in his home. I guess that was a demonstration of intimidation. Anyone think that's a bit amazing or humiliating? It's a witch hunt. They said he lied about the emails. They went to the media without providing the details. The deep state wanna shut us down, but will prevail. They thought they had the power, but they the ones that can DL. He exposed the truth, and they don't like that. But we can't fold, can't kneel, so we fight back. Roger Stone is taking all the hits, all the bullets, all the licks. But sometimes that's what you gotta do to get on the right track.